Okay. Okay. Okay, call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, Tuesday, February 20th at 5:15. Do roll call.
Commissioner Ernst,
Here.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Ray.
Here. Any changes to the agenda tonight? Nope. Public requests.
Hello, Robert Duquette, 5351 Northwest Third Terrace. I'm here tonight to advocate for public safety. Initially, as you know, I was here to support your resolution to oppose the Jeffrey Street extension. And I would like to point out that there's more and more accidents on the Bright Line, including here in Boca. And of course, we can all point to the cars and the drivers as being the cause of that. But I would still like for the commission to consider some type of change to what the current at-grade crossing is. They want to build a bridge or something like that. I think that just a matter of safety, that having people coming in and out of your park in the North Park area will be more dangerous than obviously it needs to be. And also, I would like to suggest that there be an 8-foot high fence between the park and the railroad. I don't know if that's already in the plans, but your split rail fencing that you have would certainly, I would think, not be sufficient for the safety of people coming in and out of the park, other than through the street that might be coming through by the city. So again, I would hope that you would reconsider your opposition to the Jeffrey Street at-grade crossing so that the patrons of the park would be safer. And lastly, security. We haven't seen any type of security at the park. And it's been several years, obviously, since you've owned it. And right now, we don't have any homeless encampments that I'm aware of, but that would certainly be a potential risk, I would think, within the park. We have had multiple sightings of coyotes. And again, I know that I don't want to call anybody at unusual hours, but just a public safety issue needs to be addressed at North Park. Thank you.
Robert, can I ask you a question before you stop? You're advocating for public safety, and I don't think no one disagrees with you there. But are you talking about an 8-foot fence around the perimeter of the North Park, or just on the railroad side?
Just on the railroad side.
Just on the railroad side. You know, there's a canal that separates the railroad from the park there, and there's also a planned to remove and replace some of those trees there to make it a little more densely and also as a sound barrier too. That's one of the things. You know, I'm not sure about the security. Of course, we're concerned about that, but we haven't heard of any incidents over there other than folks trespassing on the property unlawfully so, but nothing serious has been taking place over there. Is it something that's come up that's caused this concern for you?
Well, again, I haven't seen anything happening from the standpoint of security. I know that at other meetings, people have talked about security, and there hasn't been, that I'm aware of, any type of security cameras or anything else that's actually been addressed, or even, I don't even see people from the Beach and Park District necessarily going around checking things.
Well, actually, there's rangers out there periodically, and there's also police cars that are at the end of Clintmore that do stay there and keep an eye on that area. But our staff will not be going out to police the grounds. That's not part of their.
No, I understand that, but I haven't seen anything specifically. I have seen the police car at the end of Jeffrey Street, which is good. And I haven't seen as many off-road motorcycles and things like that in the last month or two. But I think that hopefully there's something in the plans that will help the security aspects when you do start developing things.
Yeah, Robert, we've in the past talked about cameras as being a security option, and certainly as we develop the park there, that'll be something that, I'm sure that will come up in our discussion. So we want the park to be safe and secure for the people who are using it, and, security cameras aid in that direction. We'll certainly be exploring that possibility. I can assure you that. We don't want to put something out there that's an attractive nuisance that's going to be a problem for the community.
Okay, thank
Right.
you.
Sil Ciliberti, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue, Boca. Hello, commissioners and support staff and public people. I'm excited today to hear what Boca Paddle has to show us that's new. And I also have enthusiasm to recommend an operator for Patch Reef who possesses not only the vast knowledge in the pickleball industry, but also a stellar track record that speaks volumes of their capabilities. The operator is Paddle Tap. They have superb professional contacts from top pros like Anna Bright and the Johnson siblings to local beginners. Paddle Tap is uniquely qualified to run Patch pickleball facility and elevate it to new heights. First and foremost, let me emphasize the depth and experience and expertise the operator brings to the table. With years of experience in pickleball, from organizing grassroots tournaments to giving lessons, they have gained invaluable insight, into the nuances of managing pickleball sports facilities very effectively. Their knowledge is not just theoretical, it's practical, born out of years of hands-on experience. Their tournaments are small in size and consist of local players, many of whom know each other. They can adapt to Patch's desire to have a monthly tournament to maybe just for a year, whatever they desire. But what truly sets this vendor apart is that both principals, Alan Lehman and Dwayne Patchen, yes, that's Dwayne's last name, Patchen. He was born for Patch Reef. That's his name, Dwayne Patch Reef Patchen. Pretty sure that's what it is. That's what I'm gonna call him now. But they're both Duper 5 rated O players. They also have proven a history of imparting their knowledge to others. Their coaching philosophy is rooted in patience, passion, and genuine desire to see players succeed. Whether it's refining technique or installing winning mentality, they have a knack for bringing out the best in players, and they'll also play with anybody. Alan played with me, and I had to tell him, step it up, because he was bringing it down to my level, and he did. So in conclusion, I wholeheartedly recommend Paddle Tap. They be given the opportunity to manage the day-to-day operations of the expanded Patch Reef pickleball facility. With their vast knowledge, superb professional contacts, track record of organized tournaments, and history of teaching, they are more than capable of steering this new facility towards a future filled with success and some much-needed growth. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay, close public comment. Of the minutes of the previous board meeting held on February 5th. Move. Joanne?
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Regular business, first one is the Boca Paddle update.
Let all the board members know you do have everything in front of you as well. It'll be on the screen, but also in your folders.
Is this the laser? Laser. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Malcolm Butters, 1492 Thatch Palm in Boca Raton. And with me today is Stuart Davis and Brian Levine and Catherine Butters. So we're here for two things mostly. One is to address some of the architectural questions that the board had at the last meeting. So we're going to show you the site plan, the floor plan, and the elevations that I know everyone's curious on. And then we'll talk about, our proposed revenue model and how we're going to go charging for the pickleball courts and membership and all that. And so we'll start with that, and then we'll go into we'll call the revenue model. So I think this is the site plan you see last time. I think it's comparable and pretty similar to the RFP that we put together. You could see this is the hotel site. This is Jeffries Road. We worked with Miller Lake to incorporate the entry features over here for the North Park. So our site here, you can see, is kind of that somewhat of a T-shaped, we outlined it in red, and we fit within the box, so to speak. We have our own parking. We are sharing, at least for now, the entrance with North Park because the road dead ends there, and we don't know the city plan yet. We don't know the city plan yet there for the extension of Jeffries. So eventually, when Jeffries does go through, we will have a secondary entrance over here, our own entrance. Our goal is to submit this site plan into the city next week. We've completed our traffic plan with the same traffic engineer that you guys are using. So it's very cohesive, and hopefully we don't anticipate any problems with the city traffic person. I don't know if there's any questions on the site plan. Otherwise, I'll move, or maybe I'll go through all of them and then we take questions. How about that? I mean, that works best. Which button do I hit for the next slide? Thank you. Oh. Maybe I'll need some help. Oh, here you go. Thank you, Jim. All right. So this is obviously the elevation, and the top elevation, I believe the top one, yes, is the main entrance. So when you come into the site and you go into our parking lot, it'll be the first thing you see. Again, very similar, not 100% similar. The initial plan we had from one had a lot of green, and it was like a metal lathing with a lot of growing vines. We thought that's going to be problematic, a maintenance issue. So we wanted to have that feel, but something that's easier to maintain and a little bit more, I think, conducive, but still have that feel, that it's a part of the park. And so that is, and you see it's a concrete tilt wall building with different vertical accents. The main entry panel has those vertical, what's going to look like wood looking fins you'll see later, I think the next couple of slides. But we broke up the elevation, so it's just not a box. I think it's good, it's contemporary. And I think the other elevations on the south and the west, a little bit work in progress. I think a little more detailing on them, but I think you get the general concept. Okay. Again, here's a little bit of a close-up, more of a 3D rendering of the elevation. Again, you can see the green walls. You can see the fins. I think this is probably, I think this is the main entrance. Yes, it's not labeled, but that's probably it. Another perspective of it. Again, I think it's very attractive. It's very contemporary. Those are the side entrance. I'm not sure this one, because it has parking. This, I would think, could be the south elevation. I think it needs a little work, to be honest with you, just on the entry features. We kind of rushed through it. And it's not our final thing, but we wanted to kind of get you a feel for where we're going. And I think that is, this has this. So this is our east elevation. This would be where we have the outdoor pickleball courts. And again, we wanted it to mirror somewhat of the west elevation. Again, the contemporary design, you could see the balcony for some outdoor events that lead. You could see the outdoor pickleball courts. Again, you have those wood-looking fins, vertical elements. It's actually going to be like wood-looking, but it's going to be actually metal, so it maintains well. And you're going to get the contemporary design and the landscaping against the building. So this, I think this is the same floor plan we showed you. We might have cleaned it up, but again, this is the first floor. You know, you can see it has the pickleball courts, it has the tube of the padel courts, and you could easily see, you know, you come into the reception area, and we have the stretch area and the lounge, and again, we have the kitchen and some of the amenities here for food and beverage, the restrooms, and then how it leads out to the outdoor courts. I think the concept is you come in here, you want that nice open feeling, and then you could kind of see some of the flow through to the exterior courts. That is the second floor up here. Again, this is open to the bottom, so you have that atrium when you first walk in, a nice open ceiling, high ceiling. You get to this to the stairways and the elevator, and this is that mezzanine level on the second floor, overlooks all the courts, so you could kind of see your friends play or if there's tournaments going on. And food and beverage again with an outdoor mezzanine balcony. I think that concludes the architectural portion, so happy to answer any questions on that. Again, the process from here is we would just, we haven't submitted anything to the city yet. We would go in for site plan approval next week with the package. The city's not overly concerned at this point on elevations, but at some point, we obviously have to go through the Community Appearance Board, which is a tough board to go through, but we've always managed to get there. And we'll clean this up. We have to do the landscape plan. But pretty much we think it's gonna, the site plan has been vetted out, so we're pretty confident with Miller Lake that that is good. And we're hoping that, and because the site plan and the footprint is created, we think the floor plan is pretty set. And based on whatever comments you have on the elevations, we're happy to hear them. Or the site plan for that matter.
Question, are there entrances on the north and south side as well?
Yes, so
Okay.
there's, yeah, so I think here there's an entrance that is more for, I think, for emergency to go out, like if
Okay.
there's a fire. Because obviously we don't want people coming in from all directions. It's gonna be hard to maintain, and obviously we would have controlled access. You know, it'd probably be fenced, you know, some fencing for the outdoor so that, you know, just people can't run onto the courts.
Right.
But so everyone will come into the main entrance, but for fire and other reasons, there'll be an exit going through here, an exit going through here, and of course, going out to the outdoor courts.
And there's outdoor seating on the first floor on the exterior in the back by the pickleball courts, right?
You mean, is there outdoor seating here?
Yeah, on the
Yeah, I mean,
first
in
floor.
between the courts and whatever, yes. There'll
Okay.
be like, I don't know, not like stadium seating here, but you know, it'd be like,
No, but for the food area, underneath the cover, I guess. I guess it showed on one that there was seating, like tables and stuff, and then
yeah, I
on,
think so. I
on the
guess rendering, I think Stu or Brian wants to address it. Yeah, I think this area here in between the court that Stu and Brian are mentioning, we'd
Mhm.
have some tables and chairs. It's, you know, and inside too. You know, so people could watch others play, or if you know, you have different shifts or different games going on.
and each individual court would be fenced in? Or, okay,
Yeah, I think we mentioned this last time. Most facilities don't have this much room in between courts, you know? We think one of the benefits of this is gonna be the social aspect and being able to watch friends or family or having kids, you know, watch their parents or their parents watch the kids play. So we left a lot of room indoor and outdoor.
Any comments or questions?
Like it. Now is this live or is it
Yeah, no, I think
artificial?
it's going to be live. The city has not let us do faux ever. So
Oh, okay.
I think if you've seen, again, don't hold me to exactly, but you've probably seen the iPic Theater in Delray Beach. So we were lucky that we were the general contractor on that. We built that green wall on Fifth Avenue or Fifth Avenue, which is Federal Highway.
Mhm.
So something along those lines.
Well, it's very attractive. I think you chose well with the architect.
Yeah, no, I think it is. Look, again, the first one, it's not exact, but I think it's in the same vein, the same kind of discussion. This will be easier to maintain. Um, the first one, we kind of rushed just to get something in this, get some opinions from the city. But I think the idea is to integrate this building with the park to get some natural elements. Obviously, it's going to be concrete for, structural reasons and otherwise. But, to break it up, to create some wood elements to it, to create some green elements to it and park, but make it more modern, make it modern to look like the future and to create an attractive place that we could get membership to, right?
Thank you.
Butters, thank you very much. I echo what Susie said. It's a wonderful design. I think you've hit the nail on the head with what we're looking to do. And I congratulate you for getting this, for keeping us up to date. And also the site plan, it looks exactly the way I thought it should. You just laid it out perfectly. I like I was thinking about the outdoor pickleball courts, needing a little bit of shade. But the good news is in the afternoon when a lot of people play, the sun's going to be on the west side. So it's going to be a little bit easier perhaps
Yeah,
to play
and we think the
outdoors.
building will act as a shade
Yeah.
barrier or whatever you want, but it's also it's a sound barrier, if there's any issues with Boca Chica, so we wanted to be sensitive to the residents too.
I think you've accomplished those objectives that we had set out for you. And I congratulate you on this plan. Hopefully, we can move this along through the city a lot faster than we've had prior results were, but you've been there, so you know what I'm talking about.
We'll move. We're good at pushing. Don't worry,
Yeah,
we're good
well,
at pushing. And I
I
think,
appreciate it. I know we have a lot of anxious people who want to use the facility. So
yeah, and I know Jacob's here, not Sam, but Jacob and Sam have been doing a great job working with our council, Stearns Weaver Miller. So I think we're going to be almost there. But the goal is, I'm not sure what the process here internally, but I feel pretty confident that within the next 30 days, we'll be through our agreement. And then it'll be presented to you and whatever your process is to fix that or to finalize that, I should say.
Or signage and how the public's going to, find your facility. Where are you going to put any signs, or are they going to go out on Second Avenue or on?
I don't know if we have any rights to second that. I don't know. It's what we'd have to work with the district. We didn't really talk about that, what options we have. And that's maybe something we could talk about because it could come up in our site plan questions with the city. But, obviously the more signage, if you could put a big sign on I-95 on the golf course, that would be appreciated, Susan. Turn right. We could put a sandwich board on you for I don't know. We'll find out. These are like details. We wanted to show the big picture to the board, make sure we're going along the right path, which I think we are. And then we're going to be back to you for things like signage and, tweaking the elevation like we saw in the south and north. Needs some work, granted, but at least you kind of know where we're heading at least.
I think it's pretty good. I appreciate you coming back with the elevation
Thank you.
and, I do like that green component of it. So I think that was a good selling point before and it's a good selling point now.
Craig, thank you.
Just two questions for you and it's more in the details, so it doesn't have to be answered now. I couldn't, do you have windows on this thing or is it just the front and back entrance?
Yeah,
And-
it's just
Yeah.
it's just the front and back, the lead and glass, and I think and Stu and Brian are the experts here, but they tell me like windows and skylights are not good
Mhm.
create shading and issues. Right?
You can manage it.
I mean, yeah, any of the like.
You gotta come up here, Stu.
Sorry. Yeah, so any of the other like sort of what we'll call like good pickleball facilities throughout the country.
All right, you have to state your name,
Oh,
please,
sorry.
and your address.
Stuart Davis, 9657 Vescovado, Boca Raton. So yeah, so any of the good facilities that we've visited and that we're tracking throughout the country and whatnot, you got to be very careful where you put windows, because then it sort of takes away the whole idea of playing indoor pickleball. Also is the pureness of the game, right? You have no wind, you have no inconsistent lighting, things like that. So adding these windows that certain facilities have had creates a horrible shadowing effects that are terrible. So what we tried to do to make it aesthetically beautiful, windows, we get light in the middle and whatnot, but it's actually, there's sort of positions that you're not going to get shadowing to where the courts are, right? So there's enough spacing and whatnot. So there won't be any high windows or anything like that.
That's good. And somewhat related to that is, how do you handle, just curiosity, the acoustics of a whole bunch of pickleball courts going? How do you, dampen that sound? And what-
Brian Levine, 2599 Northwest 63rd Lane, Boca Raton. I was getting to that a little before. There's actually a lot to work on there. There are a lot of things that you can do. Obviously, pickleball, as people know, are loud, and it could be particularly loud when you're indoors. There are a lot of things, I mentioned loosely before about fencing. There's things, you want to have carpeting wherever you can, furniture, things like wood furniture as opposed to metal furniture is much more, has much more sound absorption. We're gonna have acoustic panels across the walls. That'll be a certain, like a dark bluish type of color, which is also contrast with the ball that's yellow. There are lots of things that you can do, and you'll find, some of the places, we play a lot of Diadem, which is down in Coconut Creek, and that's a converted auditorium, and it's it's designed for sound, and it's can sound like there's shotgun blasts every time someone hits an overhead, which is not something that you want if you're going to have a dozen or so games going at once. So that's something we're very much focused on, and there's been a lot of work on that, and so we want to suppress that as much as possible.
I think we picked the right partners here. So well thought out.
Slide deck. Yep. No worries.
I just have a question for you guys, and really, it goes back to one of the public comments. As far as outdoor lighting, and I'm not necessarily talking about lighting the pickleball courts, but from a security standpoint, do you plan on having some kind of outdoor lighting going around just to keep the property lit so you don't get unsavory characters?
Yeah,
so to
no, for
speak?
sure. Yeah, there's certain city codes, right? It just because the pickleball is still a facility similar to the ice rink that we have that, of course, Craig knows about. And so you're required to have a certain minimum foot candles that they call, but you're also not allowed to project outside your property boundaries. So you're not, they don't want you to put a spotlight on your neighbor. So we'll have to follow the city code on that one. But yeah, the answer is of course, yes.
I think you guys, I agree with the rest of the commissioners. I think you guys have done a great job in putting this together for us. So
No,
thank you.
I think we do have these are tremendous partners, including Kat and Mitch Robbins, who would have been here. He's sick. He's handling a lot of the food and beverage aspect, and then of course City Pickle, our team out of New York, doing the management. So they're going to talk, I guess, on the next presentation, which is more about membership and revenue and stuff.
You'll see a lot of City Pickle here.
And remember also, you saw on the site plan, as Malcolm was mentioning, so there will be, the entire outdoor property will have a fence around it, right? To stop people from coming from the outside as well. So we'll be able to work some lighting into that as well, sort of within the regulations of what we need to do there. So a couple different, if we're going into sort of the membership and some of the stuff, we've been fortunate, some good timing here. There's been a bunch of really good articles recently that keep coming out that are great. So we wanted to talk to a few of those. So this just came out in Pickleball Magazine. Actually, this is our Surgeon General here, who is an avid pickleball player, and talking about the benefits of pickleball, how it's bringing out all types of people to get fitness in and to get out there moving, whether it's kids, whether it's seniors, people of all ages, even people with disabilities and things like that. There's a lot to be happy about with pickleball and whatnot, what he was speaking about in this article. And then we'll talk a little bit later. There was actually just another article that just came out talking about one of the neighboring groups that's going to be building in the Lake Worth area, also the pickleball club, that a little bit on their facility and what they're doing, which is a similar facility to ours, about 25 miles away, but similarities and what. So that just came out. So a lot of good positivity out there around this. So again, just like we spoke about last time, a lot of emphasis on obviously family oriented and pickleball and just the whole fun aspect here. So a lot of the things that we plan to have, we talked about this last time. So big focus on summer camps for kids and teens, different youth activities and stuff like that. So in terms of summer camps, and you'll see stuff as Brian mentioned, so City Pickle, who is our operating partner out of New York and Pennsylvania, right? So we've been working with them to sort of start to curate, what some of these programs are going to look like. So, and where there's the most demand, but pickleball camps in the summertime that integrate both pickleball and daily instruction along with other activities and stuff like that is definitely something that we want to be focusing on. And we want to be able to offer that. We're going to have coaches on staff that are going to be able to work with that as well. Introductory clinics not only for the youth, but we mentioned here for youth, but we'll also have those for people of all ages, right? Just trying to engage more people into the pickleball community and get them learning the game if they haven't played before, besides just lessons and clinics and things like that to help improve your game. We want to be focused on getting people into the game, very, very important. And that's going to be open to, to all members and also the, the community as well. Okay, it unblurred. Perfect. So in terms of community outreach and whatnot, we started talking about some of that last time. And again, we mentioned to you that this is important. And this is also something that City Pickle has been involved with as well. And it's important to everybody. So, we plan to be offering a lot of free programming as part of, some of the nonprofits that we're planning to partner with. Brian actually is one of the founding board members of Pickleball Cares, which is the largest pickleball related charity in the nation. And so many of these groups have already been working with groups like Pickleball Cares and many others to offer, different types of free programming, whether it's for underserved populations, whether it's for seniors, whether it's for kids and tweens, things like that. So we plan to have a lot of that different programming that we want to be integrating in, as well as there is sort of this growth now of I guess they call it handicap pickleball, right? So wheelchair pickleball and whatnot. So even in the US Open this year, which will be in Naples in April, they have plenty of competitive events also there. So something that we want to see if there's able to, if we're able to bring some of that in as well. So the forefront of that for the community, right? So we spoke about this last time. How are we planning to engage the community and to be able to have not just what, will be the sort of the private aspect of it, but since this is a whole, for the community as well as, it being a public and private venture here. So we have different membership setups that we have. So we have the community membership that we're showing here, as well as that's a, sort of a discounted and cheaper alternative to what we consider to be the full membership. And we'll show some other stats and some charts here of how that sort of compares out. But basically for the community memberships, there won't be any initiation fees. You'll have a much lower monthly rate, much like, the way you'd have fees at a Patch Reef Park, or if you're going to be joining at a Delray Tennis Center or something like that. And then of course you'll still have, since it's an indoor facility, you're going to have, court usage fees as well. But you will have discounted rates for that, that we talked about here, and I'll show these in chart form shortly. But we're trying to keep the rates and everything in line with what we think is reasonable and comparable to some of the competitors, whether it's Diadem, whether it's the pickleball club that's going in up about 25 miles north of here, and then also keeping certain things in line in terms of outdoor courts with what they offer at Delray Tennis Center, what they offer at Patch Reef. Okay, so in terms of how we're doing the membership options here, it's blurry to me for some reason. So we basically have, you can see on the charter, so we have what we consider to be the full membership, which is really going to have the most sort of robust, list of benefits and whatnot. The facility is going to be open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. So they will have access to the entire timing there. You'll be able to make reservations out 14 days, out, which is a big advantage for the members and something that they want. They'll be able to participate in additional special programming, such as the tournaments and the leagues and all the other events that we have. This, much like our fellow groups at Pickleball Club and Diadem and whatnot, this will have an initiation fee to join and then monthly dues. And we tried to show some of this stuff here in the chart in terms of what that looks like for our club. And then just speaking about some comparables, sort of show where this is in line with. So ours is at the top there, looking at what Diadem charges up in Coconut Creek, which is the facility that Malcolm mentioned. 9 indoor courts, converted auditorium, not a, purpose-built pickleball facility, but trying to keep our hourly rates very much in line with theirs. They also have the same monthly membership fee set up as well. The pickleball club at Lakewood Ranch is actually the Sarasota location of the one that is building up in the Lake Worth area, about 25 miles north of here. And so the way theirs is structured, actually, they just spoke to this in the article that came out yesterday. So theirs is a $1,500 initiation fee and $125 to $140 a month membership fee. And then they have their hourly charges just like we do for court time with different discounts, different promotions, things like that. And that's it. You want to add anything, Brian?
Yeah, I would just say, what pickleball club doesn't have, and I don't think many clubs have, is we wanted to carve out something that's a community membership. So give people an option that, you don't have to pay an initiation fee and it's more accessible. Obviously, the hours are more limited. It's 10 to 4, during weekdays. But it's something where I think to give people an option so that, if they really want to play and it's for the overall community, we thought it was a good alternative for people.
If you don't pay a full membership or a community membership, you can't play there.
If you're not there are guests, there's privileges for guests, yes.
So there's no opportunity for people to come and play unless you have some sort of membership.
Some sort of membership.
Except for introductory clinics and stuff like that people want to come in and sort of be able to see the facility and also sort of learn to play as well, and to think about if they want to join in a community membership or a full membership.
Okay. I mean, looking at the rates, it looks like you guys are the most expensive. I'm just curious.
It's slightly more than pickleball club, yeah.
Right.
You're basically pickleball club is 1,500 and 125. And we are 2,000 and 149. Yeah. So they're also spending a lot less to build their facility. They're in a much sort of, an area where they can build, they're not worried about their aesthetic. They're literally building a concrete box. They're cramming as many courts in as they possibly can. If you saw their article, they're putting the same number of courts that we have into a building that's basically half the size of our building. So they're not building anything to spread out. They're not going to have any of the additional amenities, anything. It's pretty no frills. There's nothing for family. They wanted to make in the article, they talked about how family friendly it is. And then you look at the drawing and basically it's just a bunch of pickleball courts crammed in as close as possible to fit. The building's 28,000 something like that, 28,000 square feet, and they've crammed in basically as many courts as we have. And we're
Okay, and
50,000 feet.
So the $49 a month, that's just for one person. That's not like a family membership or anything like that. So a family of 4 would have to pay $200 a month to be able to play here, in addition to the court fees that we'd have to
Yeah,
pay.
we haven't worked through what family
yeah, we
would
haven't
be.
worked
There'll be something. I mean, most clubs do.
Sorry, just following up on, if you have a child that's in a summer camp, is there going to be a junior, like if the parents don't play pickleball, but they want their child to be able to participate, is there going to be like a junior membership, or how does it work if you want your child in the camp, but you're not a member?
I don't think they'll need to be memberships for
Okay.
that. Yeah.
No. It's the same thing as I mentioned last week about like beginner clinics. Anyone can access. You don't have to be a member for that.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
By the pricing. So if you're buying a full membership, it's $2,000 and $149 per month, and then you will pay the 60 or 30, or I guess a per hour charge for usage.
Correct.
Okay, and then community membership, lower cost, but you say 30% court time allocation. What does that mean?
Look, it's the 10 to 4. It's 30% less hours. You have
10 to
yes, you're restricted to 10 to 4 during the week.
10 to 4 during the week, and so you'd pay $49 per month, and then you'd pay the $45 or $20 per hour.
Correct.
Okay, and that's per person.
And there'll be programming like open play and clinics and things.
Okay.
Like that they can participate. That also will be reduced during these times.
But that's per person, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Just some of the other
That's
stuff.
standard.
Yeah, and some of the other stuff, like, you know, as we did some of the research on this, you look at, like, remember, so we're operating this, you know, as a private facility where you look at, let's say, like Swim and Racket Club here, you know, is getting subsidies, Patch Reef Park's getting subsidies, so we have to figure out how to cover the operating costs, and this is an indoor facility where you have major operating costs in HVAC and all of the electricity and stuff like that, as opposed to, you know, an outdoor swim and racket style.
And there's capacity constraints. I mean, the reality is, we don't think, given the amount of courts, it's going to be hard to give, you know, a quality experience for more than, call it 2,000 members, right? So, you know, you have to constrain for that.
I'm looking at the community membership hours. And, you know, as far as indoor, whenever you play, it's air conditioned, you don't have to worry about the sun. But for outdoor, 10 to 4 is kind of like, that's the hottest part of the day. So my question would be, is it possible to change it instead of 10 to 4, using the same number of hours, but maybe 7 to 2 or something like that, have some kind of early bird setup?
I
mean, there's
tweak
the
that for
things
the
that-
outdoor stuff, but we have to tweak that, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's things we could discuss. You know, all those things add a little complexity to, you know, whether people are playing an indoor versus outdoor, you know, but we could discuss it. And, you know, as mentioned before, you know, one of the reasons why we designed the courts to be facing east with the building blocking it, right? You've got a 2-story building that's blocking it, you know, by 1 o'clock, it should be fairly shaded on those courts.
Okay, thanks.
Just wanted to be clear on the full membership. So you're paying the initiation fee, and then you are paying $149 monthly, but then you still pay court time in addition to that. So is the advantage strictly the being able to reserve 14 days ahead? I mean,
Well,
why
the
would you?
hour- You mean versus community membership?
Yes.
Well, it's the hours, right? So the 14 days versus the 3 days for community members, that's for the 10 to 4 during the week, because community members don't have access to the courts in those other times. But the full-time members, if they want to reserve a court, you know, they can do that more than 3 days in advance.
Is that comparable to other, I heard you mention another
Well, yeah,
facility?
as Stu said, I mean, it was ironic that this article came out in it was a Palm Beach Post
Yeah.
yesterday on the pickleball club opening, you know, 20 miles north. They're doing $1,500, it's in the article, $1,500 initiation fee and $125 a month plus court fees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's gonna bring it up. Yeah, we sent it. I mean, it's comparable to sort of the comps all around the country, right? As you get into like the most remote areas, obviously it gets a little bit cheaper, but then as you stay in sort of more, you know, cities and stuff like that, these are very comparable rates. It's a similar model. All these clubs are sort of following the same model, and that's, you know, that's about where it is. I mean, we're definitely less expensive than some of these models that you see in some of the bigger cities, for sure. You know, as you think about California cities and Chicago and New York and Philadelphia, we're definitely significantly less expensive than them. Actually, it's sometimes we're cheaper to play indoors than they are for outdoors in some of those facilities. But, you know, we're trying to stay within reason here.
Yeah, it seems to me that from a family standpoint, I think Aaron touched on it, you know, if that membership fee is $2,000 per person. And so if you had a family that wanted to have a full membership, that could be pricey. Are you looking at something for a
I think we
family
have to think
membership?
through that for the family, for the initiation fee, for sure, and we got to think through that more. We wanted to get some numbers out here to show you sort of where we're doing in line with others, but we got to think through that a little bit more, no question,
Yeah.
on the family side.
Understood. Thank you.
Going to cap at a certain number of memberships for the full membership?
So we think it's probably going to be about 2,000. Now, and as I said, like, you know, you want to make sure you have a, you know, good experience for your members. You don't want, you know, people like it is for all of our courts right now, where everyone's kind of, you know, racing the moment that court availability opens up. Like, you know, they're trying to get Taylor Swift tickets on Ticketmaster, which is how it is for most of these
Yeah.
courts. You want to have a good experience, and so you do have to cap it at a certain number. And, you know, we've looked at different proxies. It typically is something like 75 to 100 members per court. Obviously that, you know, you're gonna have to see what usage is. So
Yeah, there's
that's
some of the-
typically what it is.
Everybody's tweaking it. It's like golf courses sort of have setups where like they figure out that you can have, you know, 360 members per 18 poles, let's say, and whatnot. So some of the models that we've seen are like about 125 members per court. Now, 100 to 125. Now we have a hybrid of indoor courts and outdoor courts. So, most of these models are built around what they have just for indoor courts. So we think that having the additional outdoor courts will soften that a little bit, which is why we think we could take it up to probably closer to 2,000 members. But we want to maintain the experience that people want. We want to make sure people, book, are able to get courts and book, as they wish.
You've really thought this through. Okay.
Trying.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They have their one-time registration starting at 1,500 a month. They intend to build 15 facilities across the state. They have four open right now, I think,
No, I think.
or just one open, but three that are really close.
Lakewood
Yeah.
Ranch is the one that's open, but they've got a bunch.
Do you plan on capping community memberships?
Probably gonna have to do that as well.
And
the
what
good
would
thing is
be
I
that
think- I
cap?
think for community, I think one of the nice things though is that most of it, the first thing you would do before you constrain numbers is you just make more open play. As Dwayne and Alan know, like, it's one of the easier things you can do because, you have, you really, if you make all the courts, let's say, open play, or, then you could have, really 8 people per court and people just kind of go on and off. And because the way open play generally works is usually, you put your paddles down. It's just sort of people come in, people go out, as opposed to like, I reserve a court with my 3 friends and I have it for those 2 hours. And, that's, it gets spotty, right? You have a lot of open courts and this starts. And so like open play, I think you could funnel a lot more people. So I think the first thing you would do rather than cap your community membership is just have more open play courts as opposed to reserving courts, just so you get more people on courts more.
Which is sort of what Patch Reef does and what Delray Tennis Center does, in sort of the busiest times to try to allow for more members on the court.
Did a great job figuring out the pricing. I think it's no doubt it's market competitive. It makes sense. And I'm glad the whole team put it all together. My only ask would be is somehow, some way, affordable is relative. It's relative to, I get it. This is Boca Raton. We expect everyone to have a lot of money and they can afford at no cost of things. But there are a number of people who can't afford things. And that's where, I know for me, I kind of look out for that little guy who can't afford it. And so I hope that there might be some way that you could offer that affordable feature, even if it means, God forbid, that we have to subsidize something, but that's what we do. Our parks are a subsidy to the community. And I think we have a lot going on in this park. And I think it's a great facility. I think you thought through it all. It's going to be spectacular. But I also kind of want to have somewhere, a feature of affordability and families.
Well, so that's my biggest concern is the pricing. Understandably, you do have to have pricing that is comparable to other similar facilities. Again, that's why we have Patch Reef that is subsidized, where people like me will be able to play. Unfortunately, I will not be able to play here because it's just not affordable for me and my family. So, and I know it's just what you have to do. But being a normal community member in Boca Raton, my husband's a firefighter, I work part-time job, $49 a month per person is just not affordable in addition to our monthly expenses that we have. So that's disappointing because I really wanted a facility that was going to be affordable for the community members. So, but again, I know you have to have a facility that
Yeah,
makes
I mean,
money on your end. So
I mean, we totally hear you, and that's why we did spend a lot of time on trying to come up with this community membership structure, which really is very unique. And, obviously, affordability is relative, but the community membership, it's, no initiation fee, it's a third the price, the courts are less, and,
right, but I mean, so for normal people who work every day, paying $49 a month, and then they can only play between 10 and 4 during the week. So that kind of makes no sense from our perspective. So I don't know if there anything can be done on that, but honestly, it's not affordable for the average person. So yeah.
That's why we have alternatives in the marketplace for individuals. I mean, long ago, I learned you can't be all things to all people, and I appreciate the thought that you have put into this. It's and as Craig said, if we could find some way to somehow, you did mention scholarships for the underserved community, and those are the people that I'd be concerned about having an opportunity to play in some place like this, and you've addressed that. So I congratulate you on your objective nature of your pricing and continue to look at it, I hope, and make adjustments that, will meet the community's needs as well as yours.
I think one of the things that you guys are going to have to do at some point, getting back to what our chair said, is find a way for a family to make this affordable. So instead of for a family of four, if you have, and I'm just throwing this out there, this is not something that you're compelled to do. It's $49 for the first two members. Maybe it's $25, half price for each additional member of the family. So that might save, it saves a couple of bucks. The story is, well, if you live in Boca, you're automatically rich. It's not necessarily the case, as I'm sure everybody knows people here that have two-income families. On the face of it, they're making a lot of money, but when you dig a little deeper, they have mortgage payments, astronomical insurance payments, insurance premiums, car payments, et cetera, et cetera. So anything that you guys can do to ameliorate that situation, to make it a little bit more inclusive on the community end. I understand the full membership end, and I don't have a problem with that. You guys need to make a profit to make this thing go. But something on the community end that would be more inclusive to a wider segment of the population, I think would be great.
I think we got to work at that. We're complete transparency. We haven't thought through on both sides, the full and the community, what we're doing yet exactly for family memberships and whatnot. We have to work through that a little bit better. We started here and we're going to look at that.
Okay, moving on to number 2, the Patry Pickleball Park, Patry Park Pickleball Operator. Brian.
Commissioners, page 6 of your agenda packets, just a memo kind of recapping what we've done over at Patry. We're obviously now in the permitting phase for that project. We had put out an RFPs several months ago to look at other alternatives to operators. We had 3 proposals come in. At this point, we just have to kind of make a decision as far as how we want to move forward. Do we want the city to continue? The city is currently operating the 12 pickleball courts that are out there. Do we want to continue with the city as our partner? Or do we want to have these 3 people, if they're still, we're out of the 180-day window. So if they're not compelled to continue if they didn't want to, but if we want to have them in for interviews, we certainly can. I just wanted to start the conversation because any way we cut it, if we're going to go, we're obviously going to open up 18 covered courts. It's going to have impacts on staff, and we just need to plan ahead for when that happens. So I want to get out in front of it and have a discussion tonight as far as how you'd like to proceed.
Ready? Oh, Bob, go ahead.
I think as we approach this facility, 18 courts, public courts, I think you may run into the same issue operationally with fees if you have a private operator where they're revenue driven, whereas we're not. I mean, we're in the business of putting recreation facilities out for the public's use, and because we're using their tax dollars to build these facilities for them. Uh, Since, since the pickleball has begun at Patch Reef, I think it's probably been a learning curve for the staff over there, learning how to deal with the pickleball culture, um, the open play. But as I've learned in talking to people who play pickleball there and who are quite familiar with the staff over there, they've really come 180 from where it first began. We have been using the city, generally exclusively on facilities that we own. And I see no reason to, try to move away from that model. I personally appreciate the fact that there are other folks out there who could operate a facility. EPP is one that I hear a lot about. They do a lot of tournaments, but I want this to be available. I'm not necessarily concerned about tournament play as much as I am just having play for the residents at an affordable rate. And the city makes that possible because we fund, or as Craig or Steve said, we're in some ways are subsidizing that so that you have something more affordable. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what Mr. Butters has put together. They're in the business to make a profit. We anticipated that when we put this out for bid. They're building it with their dollars, so they have some skin in the game. But with the facility that we're building, I think that the city has proven that they're capable. I would like to hear from them what their plan might be, whether they, will be hiring somebody on a more professional level to help facilitate more training, um, more opportunities for people to learn the game. If we have tournament play, I'm not a pickleball player, so I don't know how important that is to have tournaments, but certainly a number of those to satisfy the local folks without taking away too much time from the folks that the amateur that wants to get out there and just play with their friends and their family. I certainly have no problem in listening to other individuals and their proposals, but I'm more in favor of using who we've come to the dance with at the city. And they have proven that they're capable of adapting to the situation. The folks that I've talked to with pickleball are happy with the way that's been run now. It's a little crazy in the beginning, but I think they got become accustomed to how to run it successfully. And so I'm satisfied with the city as a person who would run that facility, and that would be my preference from at this point.
I agree with Bob. Um, they are now doing a pretty good job. And the old expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the other side of that too is this has got to be an alternative for those people who can't afford a Malcolm Butters type facility. So if we bring somebody private in, as Bob said, now we have to also accept that they're there to make money. So I think we're better off leaving it as is, let the city run it, and revisit it from time to time, make sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to go. But I think that's probably the best bet, not only for us, but for pickleball players as well.
I like the aspect that we live in the city and we afford these things and we subsidize a lot of the things. But where I choose to challenge you guys on is how much is it? The city hasn't given us a proposal. And as someone who looks at the invoices from the city, there are a lot of charges. I mean, there's a technology charge, there's all sorts of charges. And we are indirectly subsidizing the city for an awful lot of things. So all I'm asking for is how much will it cost them to run the center over there? And I think you should compare it. Logically, you get one bite at the apple at this because then we're in it for a long-term play with it. And I think the other thing is that we as a group, I think we have a better, we're on the path of a better working relationship with the city, which is good. And I think the possibility of working with the city to let them run this is very doable. But it would be real nice to know how much it's going to cost and will we have a say when the next COVID event or something else happens? Or are we just going to be ignored? And Rand?
When we were doing the budget last fiscal, for this fiscal year, the city did have, some costs put in there, and I think we were subsidizing the facility at 250,000 in the end to maintain the pickleball the way it is with the open play, the low cost, the affordability, all those things, and that included hiring additional staff. Obviously, that was when we had planned. I think when we did that budget, we just had the 18 courts, so we have 12 more out there. So there's a lot of pickleball, but I think the city did have they do have a plan. I just haven't looked at it recently, but they put that in the budget last year at one point. And then I think with COVID, I think some of those closures were mandated just by like the county for a while. But I think Recreation I feel like they did a good job getting things open when they were allowed to. I think Recreation stepped up and tried to accommodate and even find ways for people to recreate differently than they had before. So I saw a lot of people working hard during that time, and I don't want to take away from that.
Really would like to have it all in one proposal rather than adding it to the budget of 2 more people, 3 more people. Show us what you're getting for the whole. How is it going to operate? That programming is a big part of it. You may want to have more staff in it. And so I'm just saying the city really has to come back with a proposal that says, here's the programming we're going to do. Here is the cost we're going to, share with everyone. And per unit, we want to make it affordable. So let's hear the proposal from the city rather than just adding it to the budget and letting them determine downtown what that rate is. I think we should have a say in it, and they should come forward and say, here's the whole plan. And one other thing I'd add to it is I've always said is that anything we can do to support volunteer groups, whether they're running the gift shop like the Friends of the Library or at Gumbo Limbo, you got to support the volunteer group. Let the volunteer group kind of lead more of the way rather than kind of a heavy governmental process on it. I think it's important to have that element of the volunteers designing things and doing things. So if they could bake that into it, I'd love that.
I've been involved with Boca Soccer for 40 years, and we used to have a concession stand at Patch Reef trying to get volunteers. And finally we ended up farming it out to Domino's or somebody. Volunteers are hard to get, as we found out when we set up the Science Explorium. There was a Science Explorium downtown that we had high hopes that they were going to come in and run it. And then when we got it all set up, they disappeared. I think volunteer groups are good as far as input, as Craig said. But I think that if you're going to run a facility, maybe having some input, but I think that we need to have paid folks handling that. As far as the city, I think Craig raises a good point. I think we need to hear from the city what their plan would be, staffing wise, having a projection, because they knew we were looking at putting up this facility, but I don't know how much in depth they went to establish a budget, because the money you mentioned there is probably way insufficient. But I think if we're going to run a facility where the city may need to hire somebody professionally to help them with the programming, and I don't discount that, but I think that we should ask them to put a plan together for us that we could look at. We know what the cost could be, somewhere in between what they're now paying at Patch Reef and what Malcolm Butter's facility is. It's going to be somewhere in there, because there's got to be a profit motive to anybody that's going to take over this project for us. So my recommendation at this point would be to ask the city for their plan, and then with their plan include some cost estimates on what they think it would cost us and what kind of fee that they might need to charge in order to run that facility. So let's put a budget together. Let's look at that before we start looking at anything further, because they've been good partners running our facilities for a long time, whether it's this facility or whether it's Patch Reef, whether it's the field schedules that we have to work with. They've been our partner for a very long time, and I'm not ready to leave that partnership yet.
I agree with you, Bob. I've been working with the city for a long time with Top Soccer and with Sabre, and since probably 1999, not as long as you. But I'd like to see when they do make their presentation, Brianne, I'd like to see what kind of programming. And in response to Aaron's concerns, I'd like to see, how they can make it more family affordable. If there's going to be a membership type of thing to give families a break.
They currently have fees out there. So are we looking at it? Are we looking to see what's currently offered? Are you looking to see what, like they have membership rates, they have the fees, they have programming established for the 12 courts that they have. Are you looking to see what they're adding on? Or are you looking for something different than what they're currently doing?
Well, they, like has been brought up, I mean, it has to be maintained. This is going to be a bigger facility than what they're
sure.
maintaining right now. So their projections would be helpful to see what they think we should be done. Should they increase the
Fees.
membership fees, or should they, should we just take a bigger hit on our end?
I think Sue's right, and you are too, Brian, that there are fees already out there. So we know now with their programming, they may need to increase their fees or change the way that do, like we've talked with Butters this evening as far as family membership. But I think that they just need to put their thinking cap on, and they may need some professional advisors on the programming. Because I don't know what programming they have right now, but I know that you're going to need, teaching for, and I think they do have a person teaching at Patch Reef. So I mean, I think they've done a superb job to this point, and I think that we need to continue. And if we need to make a motion about that, I'm prepared to do that. But I would like to have something from the city that's been thought out and have their presentation so that we could review in total, like we've done with the Butters organization.
So, thank you. A couple items. You have a procurement process that's active. You've received bids. You have a couple options. Before you move forward with the city, to the extent that that's the board's decision, we need to essentially resolve or settle that procurement process. You have a couple options. That process is open, and under the terms of the RFP, typically vendors, proposers keep their bids, hold their bids for 90 days. So those are sort of firm bids for that time period. Your executive director could take this conversation as consensus to go to the city and bring back some additional information based on this conversation, a pro forma or some additional information as it relates to numbers. But before the board, before the district can make a decision to move forward with the city as the operator outside of that process, you need to reject all of the bids and essentially put that procurement process to rest before you move in a different direction. You don't necessarily need to do that this evening if the intent is for that process to remain open while your executive director gets some additional information for the district. And then that would come back at a future moment on an agenda to better resolve those two issues. Is that clear enough, Brianne, in the context of the process?
Just a couple of comments from my end. I think for sure I agree with you 100% on Patch Reef, and this definitely needs to be like the resident affordable facility. And I think like it is right now, it's definitely affordable. You don't have to be a member. You just have to be a county resident to get the $6 for open play. So it is very affordable, and it's a great facility to play at, and they do a really good job. I have never had any issues there. So the one thing that was disappointing about the Boca Paddle is that you have to be a member. And like, you just can't book a court as a non-member. So that was kind of disappointing, but like, you can at Patch Reef. So, I think leaning towards the city and finding out more information about what the city will be able to do for us there is really important. Because I think going towards a private operator will have the same issues for the residents. And that would be really disappointing to have two facilities that would be not affordable for residents. So, yeah, I agree with you that we need to get some more information from the city on exactly what they're looking at there. So.
Well,
Yeah.
and again, if I may, that, your executive director, given the conversation, could take that as consensus to go and work with the city to bring back some additional information. Again, depending on the timing of getting that information, be it in 2 weeks or in a month from now, there would presumably be another item on the agenda to further conversation once you have some additional clarity from the city. And again, there could be consensus based on this discussion for Brianne to move forward in that direction.
I think there's consensus, yes,
Yeah.
for Brianne to move forward to
You
discuss.
need
it
a
with the
motion for that or?
Motion, again, a motion certainly is in order, but based on the discussion, I
Yeah.
think there's sufficient consensus
Okay.
of the board for Brianne to take that as direction.
Okay.
Okay. One question though. So we're not closing it out to
No,
anyone.
no,
And so,
your process is still very active
So
and
we
very
leave-
open.
yeah, so we're leaving all options open.
That's right.
And so in that spirit, if someone says, one of the existing bidders comes back and says, I want to match that, or I want to do something, can they repropose it
No,
and
because
lower?
it-
Or no?
it's a sealed process. Those bids are
Okay.
opened at a defined moment in time, and those proposals essentially are held for 90 days. Again, just keep in mind that timing, if the city comes back and is delayed in whatever reason getting that information, all of a sudden we're rubbing up against that 90-day window. Those proposals are not required to hold their proposal for any period longer. than that.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anyone to hold it. I guess what I'm trying to say is is it fair and competitive to everyone?
Yeah, well, and again,
That's
those,
it.
those proposals will not change. They're essentially frozen in time at the moment the bids were open.
Okay.
Well,
Or change of.
well, and so Brianne just informed me that we were already past the 90-day window.
Oh, okay.
So that does change the texture of the issue a little bit, because again, Brianne can still take that as direction to bring back some additional information from the city. She can still have those conversations, keeping in mind, if the board wants to look to the procurement process and look to one of those proposals, should it not be satisfied with what the city provides, you could certainly make a decision and provide direction to your executive director to work with the preferred bidder, understanding that the bidder is not required under the RFP to hold those prices.
So I guess the only thing I asked Brianne is that if you could go back, get the proposal for pickleball and how it, the programming, a little bit more feedback on what the city would propose. And I mean, do it right. It's not to be the lowest cost or anything, but do it right. I'd also like to know, what is it in the context of the overall park? How much do we spend at that park? So you have both. That way we have a number for whatever that is at the end. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to number 3, science exploring exhibits.
It's me again, commissioners. I'm just going to ask for this in 3 separate motions, I guess, because we have 3 different exhibits that we're considering tonight. I want to thank Commissioner Rollins for reviewing the insurance again. We worked with Florida League of Cities and they've signed off on the insurance terms. So I thank our resident insurance expert for his pro bono work as always. So let's go to page 8 of your agenda packets. The first thing I'm going to ask for is approval tonight of the exhibit called Snow, Tiny Crystals Global Impact. As presented, it's 45,000 plus shipping. So I'm saying as presented so that we can cover all those costs. So motion tonight.
Approve.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Ernst? Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright? Motion passed.
Commissioners, I'm going to ask tonight for a motion to approve the exhibit Thomas Edison Secret Lab as presented.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang. Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
More motion tonight, Commissioners, for the approval of Wild Creativity, biomimicry changing our world. Practice that word.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Ernst,
Maybe. Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Say biomimicry.
The approval of payroll and invoices.
Make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $333,383.05.
Okay.
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, excuse me, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, reports and discussion items. Director Harms.
Commissioners, just a few updates. We're working on our 50-year celebration, and I'll be meeting with city staff later this week to finalize those details. I hate to say this out loud because I don't want to jinx it, but all of our projects are moving along and progressing as scheduled. So somebody knock on wood somewhere. Things are going well. Our annual audit was started earlier this year. It's nearing its completion. And then I also want to mention that we have a new and improved version of RecTrack that's being rolled out. So recreation staff and the IT staff have been working on that. It's going to be a lot easier for our users at home who sign up online, a lot easier for our staff who register people online as well. So we're looking forward to seeing those improvements. And that is all I have.
Quickly, Madam Chair and Commissioners, as Mr. Butters alluded to earlier, we are working through the concessionaire agreement with him and his legal counsel. We had a very productive Zoom call roughly 2 weeks or so ago. There are about, I don't know, half a dozen or 8 or so open items that we're waiting to receive some input from Butters and his team on. There's about 2 or 3 items they're waiting for some input from us on. So we are hoping to get that document to you, I think within the 30-day timeframe that Mr. Butters mentioned is reasonable. But again, we'd certainly work with your executive director and bring that forward at the appropriate time. But that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do you want to go first?
Could we have a playground update?
We had a great update from the city. They have, it was scheduled to start the site plan approval process. The city has decided that that does not need to go through the whole process because we aren't changing the footprint. We're just adding some ADA parking spaces. So we are moving forward with getting bid documents together. We hope to have those done by the end of this month. And then we'll put the RFP together and get that out on the street. So we cut about 4 or 5 months right off that timeline by going through that. So thank you to the city for taking another look at that and moving that along. So that's where we are with that.
Okay, I'm going to start being like Raul I did for pickleball, and I'm going to start, just reminding everybody that we do need to go out for an RFP for golf for the Northwest side. It's going to take a long time, and it takes a long time for the designers. We're seeing this with all of our projects, and I just like to keep reminding you and harping on you. So thanks for indulging me.
You want to go next?
While we're harping, I want to harp on a field house to its some location. I think Susie's, we've been dealing with this golf issue for a long time, and at some point we need to put a pin in it and make a decision at some point, whether the time is now or sometime in the near future. Just a couple of questions. Has the city done anything with the plan to move forward with additional facilities at DeHornley I know that I thought they put their architect, on hold for a while. And I hadn't heard whether or not they have decided to move forward with anything over there. And then the other question about that location is the maintenance facility. What's the time frame on that? And where are we at the point where we have to pay our share for that construction? I guess that's coming up sometime in this fiscal year. And they're aware that we're capped at a certain limit. Okay.
I remember everything. The maintenance facility is on track and it's moving along. It's progressing. I have not heard of any issues out there. I drive by it almost every day on my way home to get on I-95, and I see it's progressing nicely. We usually get our updates from the city staff next week, so I'll email that out when I get that with new pictures. The maintenance facility, as far as phase 2 of DeHornley Park, they had awarded that to CGA. They have not moved forward on anything as of yet. Right now, I think the city's working on their recreation downtown. We've been talking with the recreation services staff about the various areas that we have available, and what we need in recreation. So we're putting together, kind of a general idea there. And then I think the city would probably look at moving on phase 2 after that, but right now nothing has moved forward yet.
And progress on the tower, are we getting close to?
Tower's moving along on schedule, yes. And actually, we heard from Stephen Kozowski, they want to start working on a ceremony or some sort of celebration out there to acknowledge the opening of it. So we're working on the time frame, but they plan to have that done in spring, and it's right on schedule.
It's been said here a couple of times about the relationship that has improved so much with the city, and it's just I keep feeling this breath of fresh air coming in. Whenever I talk to somebody over there, been very responsive, and so. When you're dealing with Greg and his staff, let them know that we appreciate that and the way that they manage our facilities. And the DeHornley facility, it's just amazing what they do and how much adjustments they make, especially when you're switching from smaller size fields to larger fields and the movement that they have to make there. The one thing that I'd like to mention too is I think I talked to you about the lighting scenario. And, I don't know whether there's lighting that we can put along the sidewalk, that maybe solar lighting or something like that. Because when they turn the lights out on the place, I've been out there, it's so dark you can hardly see the hand in front of your face. And it's presented some security issues occasionally where you have kids on one field, the lights go out and the parents can't see them. And I don't know what Greg has any input on that, but certainly I'd be more in favor of keeping the lights on and unauthorized people being escorted off the facility. And if you do that often enough with what I call them trespassers from Deerfield or any other community, they're organized. You open up a facility and people learn about it and they'll come up in it, and there'll be teams playing out there that are unregistered and uninsured in the city, and it happens quite often. Lake Wyman used to be the big problem, and now we have the same problem over it. And shutting the lights off is not the solution. So, all right, thanks, Brianne.
In this spirit of conversations, a noticeable improvement with the city is Sugar Sand Park. The outside all along Military Trail, I notice, is remarkably better. It's no longer just a preserve. It looks like a park from the outside. They've done an outstanding job of cleaning it all up. And so I appreciate that. And the roofing is going on right on par, really good. So noticeable improvements there. And thank you for doing that. One thing I thought that we should think about from a financial perspective for the district is we have a reserve for all these different projects, but the projects don't come in time, and they're not built this year, but we have a number of the amount that we need and when we need it would make more sense if it was invested in a treasury kind of staggered by its duration when it's needed. And so right now we're in a rising interest rate market, continues to be, which is difficult to a degree for some people, and we've done very well with it and we'll continue to do that, but it'll turn in another way later. And so what I'm suggesting is if we have a certain amount of assets, we should probably put some of it in a little bit, we're all in treasuries, but put in a little longer duration treasury so it'll last longer. So it's just prudent investment matching the asset and the liability. But so it's something to look into. I know the staff has a lot to do. I'll help you with it, Brianne, if you want. But I think we should talk to our investment advisor to do that at some point.
Something like on a ladder basis.
Basically, yeah.
Just something I want to throw out to the commission. We saw at our last meeting what Boca Chamber is doing with encouraging entrepreneurship. And I was thinking about how we could encourage within the students, the high school students in Boca, getting involved in college majors that would be, what's the word I'm looking for? Congruent to what we do. So maybe a scholarship program for students. And this is I'm just throwing it out there. I haven't given any thought to specifics, but putting aside a certain sum every year to deserving high school students that are involved, say, in that plan on majoring in marine biology in college or public administration or phys ed, something that would be related to the things that we do. I think it would be a great way to raise our profile in the community and as well help out kids. And it doesn't have to be a lot, maybe a scholarship for say $1,500 or something like that. It'd at least keep them fed for a semester, but something to show our appreciation and something to encourage kids to get involved in things that we do. We appreciate it.
I can give you, Steve, is that the Snow Foundation gives out over $4 million in scholarships every year. And they're 4-year scholarships. And they approach the high schools and let them know those scholarships are available. I don't know whether there's, whether there's anything that we would consider doing. I know I donate to the Snow Foundation, and they have a cowboy ball coming up where you can get a ticket, and that's a fundraiser for the Snow Foundation, and they do a remarkable job. The toughest part about that is interviewing the kids and qualify them, which they do a thorough job with that. Rotary used to do that, and it got so big that they turned it. Snow Foundation became the go-to place for the kids for scholarships that are in need, and it's a need-based scholarship too. And the best part about it is they're funding it for 4 years. Which is remarkable. So that's something that's out there. Whether or not there's anything there that we elect to participate in, I think the needs being met, and maybe some word to the Snow Foundation, because the kids at that level are really not sure what they want to do when they come in, unless they're going into law or medicine. But there's some really bright kids out there that they have access to, and maybe if you're interested in that, maybe Brianne could talk to the Snow Foundation, just ask them a little bit about what they do and how they do it. But I don't necessarily want to get into that selection process, because that's a real challenge to do that. But your idea is worthy idea, and I think that what you're looking to accomplish is being done by the Snow Foundation in spades.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but I don't think it's in our wheelhouse. And I think with the staff that we have, they have a lot on their plate as it is. And you do something like that, it's more of a non-for-profit type of thing. I think, and we could put something out there and we could end up getting 1,000 applications. Our staff does not have the ability to go through 1,000 application and interview people for that. And we wouldn't want to do a scholarship-based thing and then just haphazardly be giving out money to kids. There is a process that obviously the Snow Foundation goes through. So I think it's a nice idea, but I don't think it's in our wheelhouse.
Well, just to,
Foundation is also out there. I write letters of rec on a weekly basis for graduating, seniors that are graduating. And a lot of it is either for Snow Foundation, which Top Soccer's been very involved with, as well as the Community Foundation. And they also do millions of dollars in scholarships that we can't possibly. I've done the vetting process with the Snow Foundation, and these kids are all deserving. I mean, if you read their letters and hear what they have to say, it's very hard to make that selection.
I'm sure it is. And just further along, maybe we can do something in collaboration where we're not doing the heavy lifting. In other words, we're not doing the interviewing, but maybe as the Beach and Park District, making a contribution on an annual basis to one of these groups. I'm just throwing these ideas out there because I know and I'm sure we're all going through this or have gone through this. My grandson in another couple of years will be going to college, and he's already looking at colleges, and he's already applying for scholarships and whatnot. And I thought it was a lot when my kids went to college. I thought $38,000 a year in tuition was a fortune, and now they're looking at some places twice that. So I'm just looking to do two things: encourage people, kids, to do something that would involve them in what we do, not necessarily with us, and also to help out kids in need. But as you guys pointed out, there are already foundations, there are already concerns that do it. We saw last week, we saw with Golden Bell. So anyway, I just threw it out, but that's all I got.
I have nothing, so we're good.
Adjourn.
Okay, Jordan?
Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright. Motion passed.
We are adjourned.